Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are continuing with our weekly series of Shirim on the Zohar Kadosh, the Zohar on the Parsha, where we draw down the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, into the Kalim, into the Levushim of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. As we've said, Moshe Rabbeinu is the light of Chachma, reflective of the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that rests only in a place of absolute bittul, as the Baal HaTanya points out, which is why Chachma, Atzilus, the clarification, and the self bittul of Moshe Rabbeinu is the place where Or Ein Sof is Shoira. By the tzaddikim amitim, they're shluchei tzibor. Why are they shluchei tzibor? Because they're mavata themselves to such a degree, and the baseline result of absolute bittul is hashras hashchina. So Moshe Rabbeinu, shchina medaberes misach brono. Moshe Rabbeinu, the representation of the fact that the infinite light of Hakadosh Baruch Hu could come down and congeal itself into the oisius and the gvul of the Torah. That's the light. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is the levush. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is the secret of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam Vod, the Yichud Tata, the levushim of the Torah. The Torah itself is Torah's Moshe, that's the Or of Moshe, that's the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The levushim, the attempt to begin to understand even the depth of that baseline text, the basic elements of the Torah itself, the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that descends down into the space of Das of Moshe, it could only be received within the levushim of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And this relationship between Moshe and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Torah's Moshe and Torah's Rashbi, the chitzonius that reveals itself through the Tzimtzum, the levush that is given to the Torah so that the Torah can shine itself forth. The light cannot shine without a levush. The light alone is blinding, and it's not susceptible to human grasp. Even after the light undergoes its diminution and it gets placed into a vessel, the vessel is there to conceal the potency of the light so that it can be revealed in a bite-sized, manageable way. And the levush, the garment, hides as much as it reveals. Because the light in its essence, in its full expression, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, so to speak, the Torah Hashem Tamima, that comes down from the peh of Moshe Rabbeinu, that's infinite. Torah Hashem Tamima, it hasn't even begun to be opened, and no matter what we've said already, has not even scratched the surface of its unfathomable perfection. It's the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu beckons back to the element of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyachol that is being named by that name, and it represents infinitude. And the levushim of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is the attempt to grasp it by way of metaphor, to grasp it by way of understanding, by way of our chokhmah, our bina, our das, to bring it down into our understanding and our lived experience. That's the light of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We have this dynamic anytime that we see the creation of anything, anytime that anything expresses itself in mitzius, in existence, in ourselves, in the world around us, other people. It's all a composite of two stages, lights and vessels. Lights reflect the infinitude of all things, the infinite nature that is beyond grasp and beyond definition. And the vessels represents the remarkable capacity to contain that infinite light, and the vessel itself is not destroyed, but rather the vessel maintains itself in the face of the infinite light, and it transmutates the intensity of the light and allows it to come down in bite-sized, manageable pieces of fractalized light that still contain the essence of the light in its infinite nature. The secret of Tzimtzum, the secret of a levush, the secret of a kli is a concealment that reveals. And that's ultimately going to be what the relationship between Moshe and Rashbi are. When we can properly allow the light and the vessel to unify itself, that's the secret of Mashiach. That's Emasai Ka'asi Mar. Mar is Rosh Tevos Moshe Rabbeinu and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. As we've said, as Likutei Maharan starts off with the Shir Na'im and L'chu Chazu, the song of Moshe and the vision of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's these two tzaddikim, the Mar. These are the tzaddikim that give us the capacity to be mamtik all bitterness because they represent and they reflect that baseline binary of lights and vessels. And it allows us to come to terms with the fact that without the vessel, the light is inaccessible. And without the light, the vessel is meaningless. But it's the unification of the two of them that allows there to be a proper receptacle created to receive the infinite light in a finite way so that we can then go all the way back up to the shirish of the Torah itself, which is the secret of above and beyond both the das of Moshe and the das of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but rather it's the secret of mibein shnei hakruvim. The two kruvim are Moshe Rabbeinu and Rashbi, and then what comes out from mibein shnei hakruvim is the Rosh Tevos Moshe. Rosh Tevos Moshe, which is the combination of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Moshe Rabbeinu. The hint, the fact that we haven't even begun to understand the light of Moshe. We haven't even begun to understand the secrets of what Torah's Moshe is, of the secret of descending down, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu descends down into Torah's Moshe, the osios of the Torah, the Aleph base. And so we have to create the levush that gives us access point to this profound light. Pasach v'yamar. Zohar Kadosh says, and Daf Lamed Tesam Aleph. Pasuk in Bereishis says, "Vayerach es reach begadav v'yivarchehu, vayomer re'i reach b'ni." That when it came time for Yitzchak to give the brachos theoretically to the Bechor, which was meant to be Esav, Yakov Avinu was mislabesh. He garbed himself in the levushim, in the garments of Esav, and he went in to receive the bracha. And when he was garbed in those garments of Esav, that externality of Esav, in order to receive his blessing, Yitzchak Avinu, the blind beggar, the Sagi Nahor at this point, where he sees beyond seeing and he can only smell, he says, Re'ei reach b'ni. My son, I see that you smell like the scent of the field. Your levushim smell like the scent of the field. Vayerach es reach begadav. And Yitzchak Avinu smelled the clothing, the levush, the way that Yaakov Avinu was revealing himself, the tzimtzum that the light of Yaakov was revealing. Mashma di'inun levushin have salkin recha tava, the lo yasadre minhaim ha'urecha. It turns out that those clothing, the clothes that Yaakov Avinu went in, those begadim that smelled like Gan Eden, that they retained the scent of Gan Eden. And they never lost that scent of Gan Eden. Now, scent, as we've discussed, is that irreducible point of godly light that remains within concealment. That the chush hareach was not nifkam, the sense of smell was not blemished at the time of the chet eitz hadas. Chava saw, heard, touched, ate, listened, but she didn't smell. There was no sense of smell that was nifkam. The sense of smell, the olfactory sense, goes all the way up to the highest places imaginable, to the straightness, to the yashrus, to the direct connectivity that everything has to its ultimate source. The straightness, it's not crooked. There's no extremes to it. It's not to the left, it's not to the right, it's the amud ha'emtsa'i. The nose represents that place where the das ta'atik is miskala. And to take a deep breath and to inhale and to awaken within oneself, the hamtakas adinim, al yedei the reach, the sense, the kavanos of smell are all about sweetening the judgments. Because when a person looks around at the world, it can smell like death. It can smell like rot. It can smell like it's poison. But ultimately, when a person smells even deeper, they uncover the scent of Mashiach, Tzidkenu Ruach Apenu Mashiach Hashem, who's Moirich V'adayin. He's going to smell the certainty in the place. He's going to smell the goodness in the place. That chut shel boisem, that secret of lebesume adilo yada, to awaken the smell, that irreducible scent of goodness that remains untouched and unblemished, that scent of Gan Eden that remains with a person. The Yitzchak Avinu smells it. And he smelt that scent that didn't go away, but it was coming from the clothes. It was coming from the levush, the concealment. Hashta isla istakla. We have to look. Ksiv reach begadav. On the one hand, it says it was the scent of his clothing. The ksiv reach b'ni. And on the other hand, it says that it was the scent of his son, that Yitzchak Avinu wasn't smelling the clothing, the revelation, the levush that Yaakov brought with him, but rather Yitzchak Avinu smelled the righteousness of his son Yitzchak, that Yitzchak smelled the righteousness of Yaakov. It was the light of Yaakov that he was smelling, not the vessel of Yaakov. It was the light that is hidden inside. It wasn't seeing the performance or the levush or the tzimtzum in which the infinite light of the neshama of Yaakov was being revealed by way of concealment, but rather he was smelling the depth of Yaakov himself. So we have a stira. On the one hand, it says he was smelling the begadim, which is the tzimtzum, the concealment, the vessel. And then on the other hand, it says that he was smelling the essence, the light, his son, the goodness. V'lo amar reach begadim, ela reach b'ni. So there's a stira. The Zohar Kadosh points out a stira with regards to Yitzchak Avinu's smelling of the scent of goodness that was emergent from within Yaakov Avinu. Was it the begadim that Yaakov was wearing? Or was it the innermost kernel of Yaakov Avinu? Was it the light or was it the vessels? Elatana, but rather it's taught, Kivan shenichnas Yaakov nichnas imo Gan Eden. When Yaakov Avinu entered into that chamber where Yitzchak was anticipating Esav, he opens up and he brings Gan Eden with him. In contradistinction to Esav, which v'yicharad Yitzchak charada gedola, that Gehenna was niftach tachtav. Esav brings hell with him. Yaakov brings Gan Eden, the breath of Gan Eden, the scent of Gan Eden. V'tana, and it's taught oisan begadin hayushal adam arishon, and those clothes that Yaakov Avinu brought in that awoke in the smell of Gan Eden. That was the levush that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Adam and Chava in Gan Eden, on their way out of Gan Eden, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu dressed them in a cotton or. He dressed them in a levush of or, of a concealment. And so we see that the clothing that Adam Arishon and Chava got in Gan Eden, those levushim, those tzimtzumim, those kelim, were the ones that Yaakov Avinu took. And they were taken out of Gan Eden. And that's why Yaakov Avinu came with them. But didn't we just learn? Don't we know that Adam and Chava, after the Chet, they dressed themselves up and they covered themselves up with the leaves of the fig tree, which was the tree, as Rashi says, that the Chet itself came from, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu fixes with that which he breaks. It's mamtik mar b'mar. Don't we know that in truth, the clothing that Yaakov, that Adam and Chava covered themselves with, was the alei teina? Ihachi amay ksiv yas Hashem Elokim. V'chsiv katnas or. Halei havi ella alei teina. Why does it say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made something new? They were made from within themselves. They were the plants of the alei teina. And furthermore, why is it referred to as a katnas or? Why is the levush? Why is the tzimtzum that's revealing the light of Adam and Chava, the need for a levush, which is the concealment for the sake of revelation? If it's an alei teina and it's emergence from within itself, why is it being referred to as katnas or, something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did? All it was an alei teina. Ella ketargumo levushin diyakar v'have salkin reichin mevusma de'eden. It wasn't just the leaves that Adam and Chava wore. What they attached themselves to, what Adam and Chava attached themselves to, and what Yakov was bringing in, is the secret of the translation of the Katnat Or. It was Levushin Diyakar, clothes of glory, the Yakar, a revelation of something beautiful. Ketarguma Levushin Diyakar, Avesalken Rechen Muvusan De'eden. And from those Levushin Diyakar, from those beautiful clothes that reveal something very delicate and very valuable, is where the scent was arising from. Mebusma De'eden. And so the Zohar Kadosh is asking a question. The Kli that Yaakov Avinu is revealing his light in. Yaakov Avinu represents the light of Tikkun. Yaakov Avinu represents the light of Amuda de Amsiusa, the ability to bring a person into contact with drawing the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu into this world through the secret of Tzimtzum. That's why Yaakov is baka with or. Yibaka keshachar, it's going to be a revelation of a kav. Yaakov Avinu is the amuda de emsiusa. What's the levush? What's the kli? What's the tzimtzum that's going to reveal that light? Because Yitzchak Avinu smells it. Is it a katnas or that HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes? Or was it the alei teina that Adam and Chava found? And ultimately what the Zohar Kadosh says is that in truth, both are fundamentally rooted in the same understanding that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Adam and Chava were levushin diyakar. It was a way of concealing the self that awokened a deep sense of kavod. It was a concealing for the sake of revelation. The yakar, everything is built for kvod shemayim. Everything is there to reveal kavod. Lohoitzi yakar mizoilel, to bring something beautiful out of something that is diminished and debased. To find that yakar, that yud kaf resh, gematria shai, the shai olamos, the yesha amiti, the secret of revealing HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. It's levushim that are going to reveal by way of concealing, but the light of kavod shemayim is going to come out still. That's what Yaakov Avinu took from Adam and Chava. That's what was given over in Gan Eden. That's the secret of the Tzimtzum. The secret of the Tzimtzum, Yitzchak. Yitzchak is the Tzimtzum. Yitzchak doesn't see at this point anymore. And when a person is the tzimtzum, and when a person is operating in that place of choshech, that's machasa de einayim, Yitzchak Avinu couldn't see anymore. He didn't have to deal with Hay Alma. He was able to be mistalek b'machshavto. He was able to be kach Allah. He went into the world of gvuros b'shorosham and sha'ashuim hapnim. So the question is, how do we draw that light back down? How do we draw that infinite light that is represented by Yitzchak Avinu into tikkun? Because at first it's meant to go to Esav, which is shattering, because all concealment ultimately seems to lead to a hiding of something. But Yaakov Avinu stole the clothes of Esav. Yaakov Avinu stole the secret of Levush, stole the secret of the need to be mitzamsim. And he took it from Adam and Chava. And Yitzchak Avinu smells this. He smells the smell of, now I see that there's going to be kalim, there's going to be levushim. levushim of kavod that can reveal that which is concealed, and it's going to reveal that which is concealed by concealing that which is revealed. Only in holding back the infinite expression of the light is there going to be an expression from within the kli itself. And that's why when it comes to understanding what the secret of the levush is, the Zohar Kadosh says kitargumo. Kitargumo levushan diakar. It's not accidental. The secret of Targum, the secret of translation, the fact that the entire Zohar Kadosh is written in Targum, represents the fact that it's a degradation away from Lashon HaKodesh, but ultimately it's a degradation for the sake of revealing more potency within Lashon HaKodesh says, as Rabbi Nachman says in Torah Yutes. That translation on the one hand is lower, but it's also higher in the fact that it now takes the potency of Lashon HaKodesh and it extends it even beyond the territory of Lashon HaKodesh itself. That's the tachlis of the kli. It's a tzimtzum l'shem gilui. It's a halbasha for the sake of revealing. And Yakov Avinu was revealing this to Yitzchak. Yitzchak was at this point already nistalik min ha'olam. He was in the orus. He was in the sha'ashum ha'atzmiyim. And it's capable to bring that light of the gvuros ha'memutakos b'shorasham and the shalhuvin derechimu. The life of Yitzchak Avinu is the sugya that the leshem shabbat v'chaloma came to reveal. The marav tuvcha sher tzafanta l'reacha, the pleasure and the goodness that is hidden within the shorish of the tzimtzum itself in the world of Yitzchak Avinu. But Yaakov Avinu comes in and says, no, there's a lavush, there's a better way. You can bring that light into the world. You can bring that world, that you can translate that light. And you're not getting rid of the original potency of the light. All you're doing is you're translating it. You're minimizing it for the sake of revealing. This is what Shar Yichud V'Emunah is all about. Ultimately, that it's Shemesh U'Magen Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is like the Shemesh. The Shem Havaya represents the Shemesh, the essential nature Kaviyachol of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's revelation. But without the Magen, without the shield, which is the Shem Elokim, which is Yichud Tata, which is concealment, then there's no revelation of the essential thing. And so Yaakov Avinu is showing that there's a beautiful levush that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Adam and Chava, and it has the ability of concealing for the sake of revealing. And that's the secret reyach of Gan Eden, mebusma de Eden, from that untouched place where the infinite light can still be revealed. Vitanya, and it's taught, b'shem malei esavidu. These levushim, this katnas or that Adam and Chava received, the secret of Tzimtzum for the sake of revelation and the possibility of drawing the infinite light down through concealment and maintaining the infinite light and understanding the value of concealment, both at the same time. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu made that, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepared that for Adam and Chava, he used the Shem Malay, Hashem Elokim. Hashem Elokim. The name Hashem Elokim is not a name that was used from the outset of Bereshis until it comes to this place. It's referred to as the Razan Neim Nusa, the Shema de Shalim, the full name. Havaya Elokim, above and below, Yichud Ilah, Yichud Tata. The Lavush is rooted in the highest level of Yichud because the Orus are just the Shem Havaya. The Lavush is Shem Elokim. Hashem Elokim, which is a Shem Malay, is the unity of the lights and the vessels. And the secret of Yaakov Avinu's Olam Atikun are vessels that work like Targum, Ketarguma, Lavush and Diyakar. It's taking all that is broken, Lahitzi Yakar Mizail, and revealing something beautiful. And there's a scent that comes from there. And that's why it's the Shem Shalim. Because it's Hashem Elokim. It's the unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infinite light in and through the concealment of Elokim, which is the Lavush. This is not even a name that was used to create Shemaim and Aretz. Why is it that the Lavush itself is receiving such a whole name? But as we see, it's a secret of Tzimtzum, not just for the sake of removal like Yitzchak Avinu was at that point, but rather in the secret of above and below at once, which is the secret of the Lavush, Ketargumo, Lavush and Diyakar. Velo, says the Zohar Kadosh, are you telling me that the world was not created, Shemaim and Aretz were not created with the full name of Hashem Elokim, Haksiv, Biyom Asos Hashem Elokim, Aretz v'Shemaim? We have a pasuk Mefurish that says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the heavens and the earth with the name Hashem Elokim. Lo kash, it's not a kasha, says the Zohar. Why? Hi, kad is avidu, lo is avidu b'shem malay. Bar kad et kaimu b'shem malay et kaimu. The world itself was not created with the full name. The sustainability of the world, when it expresses itself in the secret of Olam Hatikun, which only comes about by way of its Tzimtzum for the sake of revelation, that's when the name gets the same name, because then the world becomes actually like the Lavush. The world is meant to be a Lavush that reveals, not a Lavush that hides. Kolzman, that the world has not been fundamentally revealed to be a Lavush that reveals, and rather it seems to be a Lavush that hides. So then it doesn't have the full name. Only when the world is at its perfect point where we come to realize that the concealment and the ha'alama of the olam is only there to reveal more and more of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light, that's when it's as if the world is established properly. That's when the Reach of Gan Eden is there, and that's when it's referred to as Hashem Elokim. So there's no mistake to be made. It's specifically the levush and the yakar, the beautiful garments of Adam and Chava that have the capacity of revealing the light by way of concealing them and drawing them down into actuality and graspability in the centered nature of the Kaf HaEmsai and Zer Anpin, the light of the light of Yakov Avinu. So that's where the Shem Malay comes from. Umada Amru the Inan Levushin Asulahu Rasha the Esav the Nasav Lo Min Nimrod Hachi Ukmana Vakasha Mila. We have a sugya that tells us that Esav was meant to have these clothes, and that Nimrod had these clothes. It's kasha. We discussed this before, and it's a hard thing to understand. What it's hinting to, perhaps, is the fact that, yes, in the formation of Tzimtzum, in the formation of Olam Tohu, and the Dargos, where Esav's light is higher than the light of Yakov, as the Mittler Rebbe points out, and the Koyach of Nimrod is more of a Yesha Amiti, it reflects Yeshus more than Tikkun, and so on a certain level, those Gvuros B'Shorashehem seem to contain the secret of the Levush, but nevertheless, they're not refined and developed and actualized until Yaakov Avinu. Dihachi, v'kasha mila, I have a kasha. Dihachi haksev la'adam le'ishto levushin, la'adar u'levushin l'chava. Fine. So naniach that they're receiving, Yaakov Avinu is drawing on those vessels, the levushim, the halbasha that Adam and Chava understood. But Adam and Chava represents a full unity. Adam and Chava is a dachar and a nukva. Adam and Chava is masculine and feminine. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made levushim for the masculine, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu made levushim for the feminine. But levusha de Chava ma'asavidu, what happens to levushin of Chava? How is Yaakov, who's singular and who doesn't have a Chava with him at this point? How is he the one who's going to be able to reflect the levushim of Adam and Chava? Levushim de Chava ma'asavidu. One can say, obviously, that within Yaakov was already the potential of the splitting off into Leah and Rachel, and therefore Yaakov had the koyach of Adam and Chava within him as well. Or we can say that he was drawing the Eitzah from Rivka as well. The Su and a further kasha, Diba mai is karvu. Sakataitach the inun shavku veramu minhon zihira ilah diyahavin lo kutcha berichu. And another question, how were Adam and Chava buried? Do you think that they were going to give up this shining garment that reveals by way of its concealment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave them? So there are a couple of kashas. El inun levushin de islabshu behu adam ve asisa loy islabish behu barnash achra. The be'inun levushin de mo kegavne de leila. It's impossible to imagine that Adam and Chava would be buried without clothing. And it's impossible to imagine that anybody else would have the ability to grasp the level of halbasha, the level of tzimtzum for the sake of revelation that Adam and Chava had in the process of Gan Eden. And if you want to say that they got themselves dressed, that Adam and Chava got themselves dressed, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu dressed them. And so now we're beginning to see what's taking place, because in truth, the Zohar Kadosh is saying it's not the clothes of Adam and Chava, it's the secret of the clothes of Adam and Chava. It's a secret of Halbasha, it's a secret of Ketargumo, big day of Yakar, Levushin di Yakar, a concealment that reveals. And so we can understand that Adam and Chava had their own clothes, and Adam and Chava obviously had to be buried in that levush of Chashmal, that concealment that shines, that Shem Elokim, the dinim that reveal the light of Chesed even more. Obviously, by Adam and Chava, they retain theirs, because in truth, the shoresh of Halbasha is not anything that Adam and Chava did. It's something that Hashem himself does. Hashem is both the or and the kli. Hashem is both the capacity for infinitude and the finite. As we see at the beginning of the Zohar Kadosh and Parshas Bo, it's the secret of Tzimtzum, boy paro. It should say, Moshe, go to Paro. Bo Paro implies that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is found in the palace of Paro. And Rabbi Nachman opens up Torah Samach Dal to teach us that this is the secret of the Tzimtzum, which is ultimately Kadein Kamsa de Levushim Inei, the secret of the locust, the exoskeleton who emerges from within itself, the origination of Tzimtzum, which is the emergence of the Levush, which is revealing that which was concealed on the inside, so that the inside can now be revealed by way of concealment. That Levush, That levush is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing. Hashem is the one with the secret of Tzimtzum, and he's the one who does it for Adam and Chava, and he's the one who's going to do it for Yakov as well. Tachazi, come and see, Ksiv v'yal b'shem, the kutshabrichu il b'shleim, zaka chulkeihon, wondrous is their lot. Ksiv, Pasuk says, Hashem Eloikai gedalta me'oid, hoid v'hadar levashta. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is malbish himself in hoid v'hadar. In the secret of the tzimtzum, the emergence externally, the allowance of the levush to emerge from the infinite inside to express itself and congeal on the outside, so that the concealment, the levush, is nothing other than a reiteration of that which is on the inside. The secret of the kamsa, kadin kamsa the levush minayubei, like the locust whose exoskeleton, whose levush emerges from within itself. Hoid v'hadar levashta, the concealment is the revelation. As Rabbi Nachman says, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash is an undoing of the Tzimtzum, because the Beis HaMikdash is hoid v'hadar levashta. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is malbish its hoid and its hadar through the Beis HaMikdash. And the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash is the light of the infinite going back to its original place where it blinds and it's too overwhelming. So the secret of the levush, the secret of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam Bo'ed, which is Rosh Tevos Bashkimlu, which is Kamo Lavesh, which is like a levush, it's all the revelation. This is what Yaakov Avinu is experiencing. B'chsev hod v'hadar lefanav. Hod v'hadar is in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Without the hod v'hadar, which is the levush, which is the tzimtzum, which is the halbasha, which is the hadin kamsa, the levushim in eyubei, the emergence of concealment from within the very thing that it's coming to conceal, so that the concealment is not separating me from the thing that's being hidden within it, but it's just giving me a further revelation of that thing by way of concealment. B'chsev oita or kesimla, that it's the light itself which is dressed as a garment. How is that possible? We know from the Ari and Shara Akudim that in truth the Kalim are rooted in the congealment of the light. But when you abstract the Kli itself back to its source and you go step by step back, you come to a point of emergence and you realize that the concealment is ultimately just a revelation of that which is being hidden. The or itself becomes the Kli. So we see that it's not just Adam Arishon and Chava who have their own clothes. It's the secret of Halbasha, Targumo, Levushim de Yakar, Kivin de Islabesh, Avad Mada Avad. Once HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mislabesh in that which takes place, takes place. Melamed shenis atev kud shabrichu be'or ubari yisparach shmaya. We learn from here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is maldosh himself in light in the secret of the Tzimtzum, which is itself a revelation of the light of concealment, and that's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Ela b'mai ukmino hachamudos asher ata b'bayis. But what does it mean, the begadim that Yaakov Avinu was wearing, the pleasant, the beautiful clothes that were with him in the house? HaChamudos bigdei malchus, it's malchus. Malchus, it's tzimtzum. Malchus is the chemda. Malchus is the ability to conceal for the sake of revealing. The levushim are bigdei malchus. It's the malchus itself, which is the shorish of the tzimtzum. B'meshi v'zahav v'archa ba'alma d'ginzaloin b'busmin v'reichen liyikra d'levushein. And anytime there's malchus that's coming out, anytime there's an attempt to find within the concealment the irreducible point of light that is revealed through it, which is the secret of the reach, which is the secret of the or ein sof that comes down through the kav itself, which is the secret of halbasha. The general way of the world is that it's concealed. B'busmin v'reichen liyikra d'levushin. There's hidden sense there that it's put away with so that there can be a good smell that comes about by way of the concealment. That Moshe Rabbeinu, when he goes down into the Nile, he's protected from a negative scent. Yosef HaTzadik, when he goes down to Mitzrayim, he's protected from a negative scent. There's a good scent that remains at the heart of all halbasha to remind us that there's a light that's being revealed through a vessel. And that's the secret of Yaakov Avinu's begadim. In the beginning, and now we're going back to our original question, was it the clothes that Yitzchak smelt, or was it Yaakov himself that Yitzchak smelt? Is the tzimtzum, the clothing, separate from the light, which is Yaakov, or is the tzimtzum, which is the levush, connected to the light, which is Yaakov, because it's revelatory of the light of Yaakov? But when he felt it, when Yitzchak finally felt it, he says, I see the scent of my son. It's not the clothing, it was Yaakov Avinu himself. It was the result of Yaakov Avinu himself. Like the scent of the field that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was blessed, like Gan Eden itself. In the secret of that tzimtzum for the sake of revelation, the levushim that we put on, they're not concealing ourselves. They become part and parcel of ourselves. They become revelatory of ourselves. We reveal ourselves within the concealment. We reveal Hashem within our awareness of His concealment, in the gradations of halacha, down here on the ground, in the particulars upon the particulars. That's what Yitzchak smelt. It's also the secret of the Aleitena, which is the secret of Hamtakas Adinim B'Sharasham, in that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that Adam Arishon was choita with the eights, and therefore the only tikkun was going to come about from the eights itself. Just as the bitter waters could only be sweetened by bitter waters, just as the dinim can't be nimtak ela b'sharasham. What's the truest hamtakas adinim? Coming to see that the halbasha and the concealment is ultimately revelatory of the inner essence. It's not concealing it; it's concealing it so that it can be revealed. That's the secret of Yakov. That's what Yitzchak Avinu was receiving from Yakov at that point. Where did Yitzchak know the smell of Gan Eden from? It's two that is one. Echad shushtaim. D'chsev, as the pasuk says, "V'yetzi Yitzchak l'sach basadeh lifnei sarav." And Yitzchak went out to the field at the time of nightfall to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Did he not have any other place? He had no house, no other place to daven. This is what we discussed in Parshas Lech Lecha, that field was the field connected to what Avram Avinu bought. It was the field Hasadeh Shakana Avram Me'et Ben Ochet. B'shayis Dahave Yitzchak Ayel Gabe Chamash Chinta Alea V'Salik Reichen Eloin Kedushin Beginning Kach Have Matzle Teman V'Kivel Litzlusa. Because Yitzchak Avinu smelt the Shechina there, he smelt the light descending from there, he smelt Gan Eden there, he was going to daven there. That's how Avram bought it. Avram saw Gan Eden coming from that place, as the Zohar Kadosh says. But why didn't he daven there? If it was Gan Eden, why didn't Avram daven there? Mishum de kavisa de asra achra have le bekadmisa, because he had a makam kavua, which the Gemara says anyone who has a makam kavua, it's the God of Avram who's going to help them. Avram Avinu's job was to make a makam kavua. That's why he didn't go there, to make space for Yitzchak Avinu. So that's one way that Yitzchak Avinu knew what the smell was. And another way of understanding it is that this is the smell that Yitzchak saw at Har Maria. Why is it referred to as Har Maria B'Shasa Akeda? Where Tzimtzum finally reveals itself, where Yediyah and Bechira meet, where life and death meet, where this world is shown to be the revelation of the secret of Ketz Chai and the secret of a Titzchak Liyom Acharon, and how all of this world is just a levush, so the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be revealed with Titzchak Liyom Acharon, and the secret of seeing it as a levush. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself, the levushim are not going to be mevutal, but the levushim are going to be revelatory completely of light, like the Torah of Rabbi Meir, which is the secret of Katnas Or Ba'alef and not with an ayin. It's not a different Torah, it's seeing the Aleph within the ayin. It's uncovering the light of the infinite that comes out through the levushim itself, being metargim the Torah so that we can come to a higher level of grasp. Why is it called Har Moria? Al Shem Hamar Hatov, because it smelled good there. Hamor Hatov, the Memresh, Moshe and Rashbi. They were all there. V'gan Eden the Ayel Imeu Barche. And Gan Eden entered in with him, and he received his blessing. And that's the reason that Yitzchak Avinu in the end is blessing Yakov. He's smelling Yakov. He's not smelling the levush, because he sees that the Tzimtzum is ultimately revealing the innermost point. It's not a Tzimtzum that conceals the innermost point. And within the Tzimtzum, you can smell the innermost point. And therefore, he came to realize, I'm not smelling the levushim. I'm smelling the levushim, the yakar, the fact that there's a concealment for the sake of revealing. And in that place, he brought the light of Gan Eden with him. The light of Gan Eden with him. This inyan of the Tzimtzum for the sake of revelation, this inyan of understanding the need for Habasha. Habasha is the diminishment of lights. It's the drawing of an infinite thing down into bite-sized vessels of ordinariness, of one thing after the other, of structure, of knowing when I daven, knowing when I eat, knowing how I daven, knowing how I eat, knowing when I learn, what I learn, where I learn, what I learn, what my plans are for the day. Not because I demand that the world offer me that day, but because I have to have that operating setting. I have to have that habasha, that ability to be mitzamsim the or, so that a person can become a functional person. That's the secret of the levushim. Levushim reveal by way of concealing. Ha'elem hu hagilui. This is the radical secret of Tzimtzum. The radical secret of Tzimtzum is that what appears to be an investiture of a higher level into a lower level, to the degree that the higher level is now contained and hidden within the lower level, and all you're seeing is the lower level. In truth, all the lower level is doing is serving as a levush, a garment that hides the innermost point of the higher level in order to keep it sanua. But it's specifically through the levush that the tznius comes out. This is the secret of tzafar de tznius, tzafar de shakal b'metkala, on the level of radla that can only be revealed from within the secret of the levushim. And the rectification of the levushim, and the preparation of the levushim, and the celebrating of the levushim, and the owning of the need for the levushim. All of that is the secret of Yaakov Avinu, the secret of the Hadin Kamsa, the levushim in Eubei, the levushim that reveal, and that's the Reach of Gan Eden. And that's the secret of the Tzimtzum, that's the secret of Bo Paro, that's the secret of the locust, and the process of leaving Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is the development of the levushim. Receiving of the Torah is the development of the levushim that are going to reveal the innermost light. And in this process, in the process of the last three makos, which represent the three upper spheros of the gar, of the chokhmah, bina, and das, which we can't, or the keser, chokhmah, and bina, which we don't have a full grasp of, other than by way of their concealment within the lower levels, we come to grasp the secret of gar. We understand that we grasp gar, we grasp the Gimel specifically from within the Habasha. And it's within the ordinary nature of things that we hold on to and illuminate ourselves with the extraordinary light of the infinite, Be'ezras Hashem.